to Cherokee Now. Today we have Terri Henry joining the show. Welcome to the show, Terri.
Thank you.
Well, so let's talk a little bit about your work as the director of TERO and some of the hard work that your department's doing. What is TERO? What does it stand for?
So the TERO stands for the Tribal Employment Rights Office, and essentially this office works to increase employment of members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians and other tribes, to promote the growth and professionalism of Indian-owned businesses, to increase contracting opportunities for those businesses, and to reduce discrimination against Indians.
Okay, so now you guys have three primary functions. Let's talk about the first of the primary functions, employment. What is the employment function like? So
the employment function is really an opportunity, a place where we can create spaces for our potential Indian employees to come in, make an application with us, and get put on our Jobs Bank list. And the Jobs Bank list is actually a portal. It's a digital portal, and we are creating a space for people to list that they're available for work. That and what kind of areas that they want to work in. So if you're a contractor or a laborer and you want to come in and work for, let's say, some kind of construction element, drywall,
wherever your skill set fits.
Precisely. You can check those boxes, and we can help to use that information to connect you with employment with contractors that are coming into the community. So for instance, when we have the casino expansion, the hospital expansion, any kind of things, contracts like that, we can connect people who want to work with employers who have jobs and who have those contracting opportunities.
So do you guys actively seek out groups or that are needing laborers out there in the community? And so and then you say, Chris McCoy, he's a carpenter, he's looking for that kind of work, and so when a crew comes in, you can say, hey, look at this guy, look at this girl, look at this guy, look at this girl, and you can get them the employment that they need in that area. That's awesome. What is that process like if I'm not on your job bank, but I want to be? What do I need to do?
So you just need to come to the TERO office. We're at the Gingerland Welch building. Come in there, fill out an application for the job bank, and essentially we'll help you get put on. The database, what we're wanting to do with that database is actually expand it to include people who have degrees, people who have certifications in particular areas. They may not have a full 4-year degree. They might have a 2-year degree. They might be a PhD.
Oh, wow.
So we're actually looking at creating a place for our tribal members to be able to come, give us their resume. We can upload that into a place, and so we can, if people are potential prospective employers, could come in and look and say, hey, we've got these individuals who have these skill sets and this educational background. We'd like to create that bridge to employment. What
are the opportunities like right now? Are there a lot of folks coming in looking for people in the job bank? Are you getting a lot of referrals out?
Well, right now we've been actually in a growth period. In the last several months, the TERO office actually got reduced down to about 2 staff persons.
Oh, wow.
And so we're in a rebuilding process, and we're also looking to rebrand the TERO office. We know that there have been a lot of, there's a lot of history with TERO. It began nationally in the 1970s, and then locally here in about the 80s. And so essentially what we're looking to do is really take a look at this TERO element and really make it a robust program that will have offerings for every employment element that we have out there.
Now, do you guys offer any kind of training? So maybe I am a skilled laborer, but I might need some training in some other areas. Do you guys offer any of that? Is that part of the program?
That is part of the program. We are looking to get to that place. We're not there yet, but we hope to be able to bring in training for any kind of, like, if you want to be a journeyman, like how to read a tape measure, how to do those kind of things. We actually have quite a few different kinds of skills that we're looking for promoting. For instance, if you look around this tribe and you see all of the kinds of meetings that the tribe has, all of the kinds of development that the tribe is in, we actually want to take a snapshot of what all of those potential jobs could be.
Right.
And so, for instance, even from my experience on the tribal council, I know that we have a lot of need for instance, with court reporters.
Okay.
So people taking minutes. There's a lot of entities that have meetings that have minutes that need to be published.
Right.
So those kind of clerical jobs, very specific work. We're looking at a whole host of, like, if you want to go to truck driving school,
Okay.
we can support that. If you want to go to a massage school, if you want to, those are the things. If we're building a resort and a spa, if we're building...
I was going to say, with the discussion revolving now around economic development, we're looking at adventure parks and other pieces. The casino's expanding all the time with new hotels, retail developments there. It seems like there's going to be a big demand for hospitality.
Yes.
And that could be an area that a lot of folks out here, you can learn fairly quickly how to approach people, how to take care of people, and we're good at that as Cherokee people inherently. So that would be a great area for folks out there looking for employment that may not know a skill or may not know where they belong. Come in and help us run these retail areas and hospitality areas.
Right, and we'd like to be able to eventually offer classes where people can come in and learn how to do those things. So, for instance, one thing that I found just in my personal existence is that some people don't, like when you go to a store and some people don't know how to count back change.
Right. So we can do a basic class on that. So we can do some
basic classes on, like, the greeting for people when they walk in the door, and come back and see us, from the beginning to the end.
Right, and leverage our partners like Harris.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've got a great system going on. I know they're upping their scores on their customer service stuff all the time, so something to look at. Well, good. Now let's change gears a little bit and talk about compliance. What is the compliance function of TERO?
So the compliance function really is to ensure that during the contracting process that the contracting process enables Indian preference in the contracts, and the compliance officers essentially are going through and making sure that from the time that the bids are let, that the contracts are able to, that those that tribal entities are able to, Indian-owned entities, are able to apply for those contracts or submit proposals
bids
to them.
Right.
And also, on the backside of it is, once those contracts are in operation, that folks, that there's Indian employment, that there are Indians actually in those positions, in those working in those contracts.
Okay.
And so, for instance, if you've got a construction job, we want to make sure that we have Indian people, laborers, working in those positions to ensure that every qualified Indian that has the opportunity can actually work.
Okay, so that it's being spread across evenly, that everybody's getting their fair shot.
That's what
at being an employee.
That's what our job is, to ensure that
and you ensure the compliance on that. When somebody's out of compliance, what does that mean, and what happens?
Well, what happens is our compliance officers go and have a conversation with those folks, and we try to negotiate how to get back into compliance.
Resolve that.
Right. But and we hope that people are willing to work with us.
Yeah.
We're not scary people.
Right.
We're just trying to ensure that Indian employment is happening.
Right.
And then if it gets to the point where we have to be really come at it from an enforcement mechanism, we have the capability to actually do some stronger enforcement.
And I guess it is an opportunity to address that, because there is a misunderstanding, I believe, out there about the flip side of that. When we hear the complaints, well, this group doesn't do it well, or they're not doing it the way we want them to do it, so we're just not using them. That's not necessarily the right approach, but there is a mechanism in place for if you're not satisfied with a particular employee or contract or whatever it may be.
That's exactly right. And so within the TERO law, if there's an employee, if there's a contractor that is not satisfying the contracting person or entity, please, we ask that you write a complaint or some feedback on that particular contractor or person, so that we can actually work with them. If it's a skill set development, we can actually come in and try to help mitigate that and work with that individual to obtain the things that they need.
You're working on both sides of that.
Exactly.
You're not just there to defend the enrolled member or the tribal member and their opportunity. You're also there to protect the business part of it too.
That's right.
By making this a better situation so we can keep doing it. It's
That's
about
exactly
the next job. It's about the next opportunity and
That's
growth.
right.
It's not just about this one particular finite moment. It's like, how do we make this situation better for everybody?
That's correct.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's exciting. Let's talk about your third function, which is real exciting to me. I know I've had a discussion before on Cherokee Now about this, the Mothertown Healing Project.
Mm-hmm. So the Mothertown Healing Project was started about 2 years ago, and I just have to take my hat off to the individuals that were involved in creating that. That was, I think, a very visionary thing that happened, and so hats off to those
Absolutely.
folks. So what we're in the process of doing is growing that program.
Okay.
What this program is essentially set up to do is to provide an employment support for people who are in recovery from
Right.
alcohol and drug addiction, and to be able to support them in their mental health capacity, in their going to their classes, making sure that if they have a law enforcement or a probation or any kind of court
Legal.
matter, right, that we support all of that, and we also give them an opportunity to start developing some job skills.
Right.
And we offer a stipend as well to
Okay.
help them, because we know that our people who are seeking employment, and this is really for everyone, their basic needs have to be met.
That's absolutely true.
So you can't meet your basic needs if you don't have a means to do that, and having employment is a
Right.
way to do that. It also shows our community that we actually are not throwing away people. These are all members, they're relatives of our families, they're all part of who this community
Right.
is, and we are really showing that we can work with people and try to get them to the place where they can actually help themselves. And we've had some fantastic
Good.
participants that have just been phenomenal successes for that program.
That's excellent, and I hope to see the continued growth and evolution of that. Are there any new plans for that, or are we moving forward anywhere with
We're
that?
looking at growing the program.
Good.
Right now, we have space for 10 participants.
Okay.
And we're looking at growing that as we move forward.
Good.
Of course, that's a funding issue. That's a literal space issue.
Right.
So where we're located now, we're about to bust at the seams. but anyway, we're going to meet the need that we have out
Good.
there, and so
Good.
we're not going to be limited by our physical constraints.
Right. I'm by no means a specialist in that area. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I will say that, if you look deep into our tradition and our culture of our tribe, which is tens of thousands of years old, it was very much about taking care of each other.
That's right.
It was not about the individual. It was, it was all about the team, and picking up people that were a little bit behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's key that we approach and keep that value at our front, rather than just making it a side issue. But we got to put that to front and say, how do we help everybody that needs help today?
Right.
And then I'll worry about myself on the back. I'll be okay because they'll be doing the same for me.
Right.
And so I think it's why it's key that this Mothertown project seems to have a formula that's getting somewhere that I think can be a proven model
Yep.
for everybody. Granted, we have something that a lot of folks don't have, and that's a culture to tie that to, and it can give purpose.
Right.
And, I think I see the folks that are coming out of your program, that come out of the Mothertown Healing Program, and they're very successful. They're very kind. They're very appreciative, and they're good people. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with people. We all have issues. We all have our own deals that we're recovering from. This is a great opportunity to see our community come together and give that outlet for everybody to get back in line, back in their role, and to see it moving forward. So congratulations on that. And again, you're right. Hats off to the group that started that.
Right.
And let's carry it forward. Let's
Yep.
keep working. So that segues us into that. What is the evolution of the program? What are you doing with TERO moving forward? What are the plans?
So moving forward, we just want to expand the capabilities of the TERO office. As I mentioned earlier, creating the database not
Right.
only for the prospective employees, but also for employers. So for our contractor people, one of the things, we've got a list of TERO vendors that we're going to be working with directly, of course, but we also want to expand and reach out to Chamber of Commerce people
Right.
to look at and find ways that we can approach the small businesses that are around town, and to try to find placements for people for Indian employment, so that when we walk into, or when tourists walk into these craft shops downtown, there's an Indian person standing there waiting to greet them and to help them find their way around Cherokee and be that little cultural aspect and in the tourism component there. You know, Chris, one of the things that I've been reading online with when people come to a destination, they want to have an experience.
Absolutely.
And the question is how can we provide and help that experience happen?
Right.
Well, we know that there's another component to this, and that is, you know, for instance, planning and the planning department that you reside in. We'd like to be able to partner and be able to pull that workforce together so that we can. You guys have the ideas for the projects. We've got employment, and that we can meet those places where they need to be met.
I think you're right, and I think we hear it all the time. It's an employment thing. It's a workforce thing.
Right.
You know, we'd love to do this project, or we'd love to do this event. We don't have the workforce. We don't know where we're going to pull people from. It's a budgetary thing. It sounds like you are a resource that could leverage. We could leverage and use.
Yes, and we are really looking at cultivating.
Right.
We have to cultivate skills. We have to offer skills. We have opportunities for skills to be obtained, and then we cultivate those. We refine those. We reshape those. It's kind of like being a potter. You take a piece of clay and you mold it and mold it and mold it till you get this beautiful piece of art.
Right.
And so we have to remind ourselves, I think, that one of our cultural crafts is pottery.
Right.
And if you think about the human being in that way, we can actually cultivate each other and work with each other. I think that, you know, we need to come recognize the fact that we have a very loving community, very generous, very giving.
You never see it more than when there's someone in need, you know, whether a home burns down or someone has a fundraiser, and you just see all these people come together from all walks of life. People that you'll see yelling at each other on television, but then out here side by side battling the elements on the outside. And that's great, and it's something definitely we need to put these things at the front of mind. Let's turn around our society and our way of thinking as a group here. This is something we have the innate ability to do as a unique cultural group. And we should be doing that and practicing it more. And I think it will come. Repetitiveness. We've got to keep pounding out this idea, and it'll happen. Right.
Well, and I think also added to that is, you know, we just have to really have a positive mental attitude.
That's it.
And we can overcome anything. So, you know, TERO is there to try to help all of that. We're looking at re-energizing that whole workspace.
Right.
And so, if you please come down and make an application for a job bank participant, or if you want to be a TERO vendor or you're an entrepreneur, come on down and sign up, and we'll be happy to try to work with you. The other thing that I wanted to just really quickly say is that we're looking at developing ways that we can support and help our TERO vendors. And one of the ways that we're looking at doing that is creating what I'm right now calling micro advertisement. So a micro ad is something like, we create a flyer, we might send it over all of the tribal emails and say, hey, when you're considering your budget for this year, don't forget these individuals are TERO vendors and they have these kind of products that they can offer you. Or if we could maybe do some little, you know, static page advertisements for Channel 28, for instance. You know, just to kind of do those are the things that TERO can actually help do to create some footsteps to your door, if you will.
That awareness is key. I recently watched a documentary, and it was a show, Killer Mike. I don't know if you've seen it or not. And he talks about, though, how long the dollar stays in a community. And in the Asian community, it can stay for upwards of like 23 or 25 days. In the Caucasian community or the Jewish community, it can stay in there 24 days. It stayed in there quite a while. But in his particular research in the African American community, it was staying for 6 hours. And I would bet even less in the Cherokee community.
Probably so.
How long is the dollar staying on boundary?
Probably so.
It's not changing hands, but one time maybe
Right.
I get paid and then I'm heading out to Asheville.
Right.
We got to figure out ways as a group and as a community to keep those dollars recirculating on our boundary a little bit longer. I know it ultimately always leave, but it'd be great to start to figure out ways to hit a few more layers where we have seamstresses. Why am I not buying clothing from a TERO vendor that sells shirts and pants and maybe even shoes one day? Why not? But we've got to establish those kind of businesses and those kind of opportunities so that I can keep that dollar here a little bit longer.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because right now, one of the things that we've been engaged with doing is trying to find what the employment rate is on this boundary.
Right.
And we've begun collecting some raw data for that. And so I just want to just share with you that we've looked at the 16 permanent employers within the boundary.
Okay.
From the tribe, of course, to all of the gaming components, which is Harrah's, the Valley River Tribal Bingo, of course, the permanent commissions that have jobs, the school, the boys club, the museum, the historical association. You know, there are a total of, when you look at that total number, there's over 6,000 jobs that are permanent by permanent employers on this boundary. And there are 1,926 enrolled members employed in those 6,600 jobs. There are 47 other Indians employed, and there are 4,400 non-Indians employed on the boundary. So, and there's a total of vacant positions of 602.
I think that's the key right there. 602 vacant positions available to be filled by anybody that's hungry.
That's right.
That's all you got to do. You got to have a little bit of drive, a little bit of training, which you guys can offer.
Right.
And we can fill these positions with more enrolled members and get people working.
That's exactly right.
So we've got to change again. We've got to change the mindset. It's not that we don't have opportunities. It's not that we don't have training opportunities and jobs aren't here. We've got to get a little bit of drive. We just got to connect the dots, though, really, in a lot of places. Some folks don't know. Some folks are a little bit shy about coming out and asking for help or asking for those assistances and growth. This is a prime example, though, that we actually have a good base here, and we're going to get more. That number is going to increase.
That's right.
As we grow, that number is going to get bigger and bigger, and we've got to get more enrolled members excited about working in our community and having opportunities.
Well, this is just the first set of numbers that we were able to, that we've looked at. We're actually, our next task with this is to actually look at the mom and pops around here, because we can look at permanent positions year long, and we can look at seasonal positions as well. And so we're going to be looking at that layer of numbers as well as looking at our TERO vendors for any kind of permanent positions that they have. So we're really looking, and after really crunching this number to find out what the employment rate is. Of course, we have to couple that. In order to get the rate, we have to know what the unemployment rate is. And so that's going to be a little bit
a little bit of a job crunching numbers.
Exactly. But you know what? I think that we can get there. And I know that with the census that's coming in 2020, you know, I'm going to make a pitch, please. If you get tapped on in your mailbox for the census response, please do so. Because that will help us all ultimately figure out what, all of these programs figure out what some statistics are.
We have to have these statistics. We have to have these numbers. We have to have the public participating, because it will in turn drive our policy.
That's right.
It will drive our strategic plan on how we help the community. We have to know what the issues are. We have to know how many people are out here that are looking for work and can't find it, or that are hungry and need food, or that are doing well. I mean, we need to know all these numbers so that we can make a strategy that makes sense with analytics.
And that's right. And the other piece, the other element to that I think is really important to mention is the fact that this tribe has some very specific jobs that it needs workers for. And we need to be looking at creating and supporting education, whatever kind of education that is. We need to be looking at what those jobs are, because that's really the trend where the tribe's moving to, and those are the jobs. That's where the trend line is.
Good job. Well, if there's anything else you'd ever want to come on for as things grow and evolve, or if you have any other opportunities for the public, please come on and chat with me about it so we can share that with the public.
Be happy to. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Terri. That'll be it for today. If you're listening at home and would like to comment on the show or ask questions regarding what we've discussed today, please comment on our EBCI Cherokee Now Facebook page at facebook.com/Cherokee Now. We'll see you again soon. Daddy Bag of Honey.